Welcome to Quack Co, the board game channel where every video is 10 minutes or less guaranteed.
Or
and
double
today
your money back.
is Just the Tip Tuesdays, where we're walking you through some of the factions and faction abilities in Mythic Mischief, one of our favorite little abstract games from Ivy Studios, a partner that we work with very, very often. We're excited about this. We want to help you get this game to the table as much as possible. This type of deep dive is something we're thinking through here on the channel, so let us know what other games you'd like to see covered in this in-depth, like 10 video series. And with that, in this video, we're going to set up a little bit of flavor text. We're going to walk you through the core mechanics of how the Ghost faction works in Mythic Mischief. If you want to see Shira's side of the monsters, check out her video from last week. And we're going to be pairing these with gameplay videos where we've actually ran each character through the roster. So keep that in mind with the main channel over there on Quackalope. And then finally, we're going to talk to you about some of our approach or our strategy when it comes to playing each one of these factions. So if you're diving into one for the first time or you want to really impress your friends, come to the experts. At least one of us here is good at this game. Shira, flavor text.
The ghosts. These wispy wallflowers are quite the quirky crew. Thick-framed glasses, ironic shirts, and bad indie bands. These spirits haunt the halls of their high school, where they rival the trendiest of spectral spooks. Guarantee these ghastly faux geeks liked your favorite band before they were ghoul.
It's horrible.
It's awful.
It's horrible and amazing. Okay, so the Ghosts. The Ghosts are going to be a faction that heavily focus on movement abilities. Most of their core abilities are actually going to be leaning into that core movement trait. I'm going to reset my board here really quickly because I should have done that before we started recording, but it is an easy enough thing to do.
And you might not actually have the Ghost. The Ghost is one of the expansion factions, so just look out for it.
Anyone that has this game should have the Ghosts, though. I'm going to be honest about that. Not only do they have glow-in-the-dark little meeples, but they're one of my favorite factions to play.
I hate playing against them.
Okay, so beyond their core abilities, which every faction has very similar, which is going to be the move and the distract ability, the Ghosts are also going to have 3 other core abilities and an after-lunch special. They're going to have Possess, Animate, and Haunt. Now, their move ability, because they rely so much on movement in their core faction, is going to be a little bit higher than your average players. You're going to have 5 total movement with a 2 and a 3 die there, and this is going to quickly ramp up to a potential of 10 total movement, where most of the other characters have 8 to 9 total movement by the end of their full progression. Moving down to their Possess ability. So, Possess ability is going to allow me, as the Ghost, to spend a movement point to move into a location with another player, or if they're on a rubble, to spend 2 movement points to move into a location with another player, possess that player, and send them off in one of the 4 cardinal directions. You could either trade spots with them, or you could push them farther down a line. I like this by basically marching someone 2 or 3 steps in a direction they never intended on going.
Like, ooh, that tickles. Oh, no, I'm going this direction. Ooh, that tickles again. I'm going this direction.
Very nice helping hand.
So with the Possess ability, you cannot move a Possessed Mythic through a bookshelf.
Yeah.
So when he moved into this ability, he couldn't push me up into that bookshelf.
Yep. You're not turning them invisible.
You can possess onto a cluttered space. A lot of these manipulating abilities, manipulating your opponent, your enemies, or yourself, are going to ignore the cluttered space, which usually takes 2 movement to move on.
For instance, a Possess here will allow me to shove you up onto a cluttered space. You kind of get the chills and you move.
But if you moved onto that cluttered space,
it would still cost me 2.
You would still have to spend that extra movement. Moving into another mythic space requires 1 move action per space moved to reach them, which is why the Ghosts have such high movement capabilities.
A lot of their abilities are going to require a move. That's going to follow up with the wall ability, which is going to be called Animate. So this is their second ability that they have here, and this ability allows me to shift something along with me. So the easiest example is going to be down here with this wall. If I moved over here to the right, I'd be able to pull that wall along, or if I moved forward here, I could push that wall or drag that wall with me. It's one of these abilities where you actually have to be physically moving your piece in order for the wall to shift position, which is different from a lot of the other factions that you have.
Yep. You can move multiple spaces before placing the bookshelf, but each requires an animate action.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to move it 2 spaces, you had to use both 2 movement and 2 animate to do so. You cannot block off a section of the library completely, which is all of these wall movement, which is a rule for all of the wall moving capabilities, and you cannot place a bookshelf onto the outer edge of the library or another bookshelf.
So we have my special ability, which is going to be the Haunt. Enemy mythics cannot move through or occupy a haunt space. This token is just a powerful trap. It blocks off the board. The Tomekeeper will be able to move through it. I will be able to move through it, but my enemy cannot spawn on it. They cannot stop on it. They cannot move through it at all. It's very cruel.
You have to drop that haunt token underneath yourself while you were passing through that spot.
Yep.
The Tomekeeper, like you said, the Tomekeeper can move through it and occupy the haunt token, and only one library board space can be haunted at a time. You
Yeah, so if you're playing with multiple factions, or you happen to somehow have found yourself with multiple haunt tokens, you can only ever use one. It is a shutdown ability. It is brutal. Now, one of the things that I actually don't know 100%, but how we rule in this game, is that if you want to disband the haunt token to open up the floor space for you to like shove someone onto a location, you can do that as the ghost player. That's your space, you can open it up.
You can take it away, but you cannot put it back out until you reprogram it
again until you fully reprogrammed it. I could be wrong on that rule. Please keep that in mind. I'll make sure to double check with the designers.
Yeah.
They'll leave a comment letting me know if my verdict is right or wrong. But sometimes with the haunt token, if you can't disband it, sometimes you can end up hurting yourself more than the other player by locking off a zone. Now, my final ability is going to be fairly simple, and again, it's going to play with that movement ability. This is a big part of the ghosts. My after lunch special. You may spend 2 actions to move through a bookshelf. Suddenly, the entire board becomes my playground.
Yes. That's all it is. Each movement through a bookshelf requires 2 move actions, which is why it's so... We'll now start talking about the tips and tricks for the ghost. Ramping up that move as quickly as possible using all the tomes you collect is your first go-to with the ghost, because every single other power and ability requires that movement. So placing tomes there and using your extra push between rounds will be crucial.
Yeah, I usually find if I can get up to at least 2 full tomes upgrading my movement abilities with the ghosts, I'm in a good spot. Sometimes, if not every time I play the ghosts, I am close to all 3 tomes. Boosting them. 10 movement is a powerful position to be in this game. Allows you to get basically anywhere you need on the board, and after lunch it becomes very important to be able to spawn through those bookshelves, because that's how you can pop into a location that people aren't expecting. I love pairing that with a possess ability, because there's an alarm going off. I love pairing that with a possess ability. Shira has to make it work in mere moments. She takes care of tiny little babies. I don't know if they knew.
Baby babies.
The tiny baby.
It's gonna go off again if we don't hurry up.
Like baby babies that were baby babies way before they're officially baby babies.
Yeah.
Either way, she works at an EQ. I love pairing that with the possess ability, because I can spawn into a little hidey corner that someone's in and shove them out of it, which is a lot of fun. Now, I'm going to be honest. I think the haunt ability is one of the most interesting puzzles in the game, but also one of my least favorite puzzles in the game. I very rarely reinvest in this, and the reason being is it is very hard to just get score off the haunt, where a lot of the other faction puzzle abilities, their special abilities, allow you to score immediately off of the use.
Yes.
With the haunt, you have to be a lot more strategic, shutting down pathways or zones, blocking off a place that keeps you from being scored on, and sometimes you can find that you've actually hurt yourself, like I said, more than you've hurt the other player.
I find when I play against the ghosts, more often than not, since I'm playing against you, you end up taking it off halfway through the game, being like, this was more irritating than it is actually helping me at this point. I want to actually push you onto this location.
Now, the ghosts are also one of the only factions where I don't invest as heavily in the distract ability, and that's because the possess ability is something that other players usually aren't keeping in mind. Distractibility, everyone has. Everyone's trying to position around that. Possess, though, allows you to shift their people in a very, very direct way.
Yes.
So when I play the ghosts, I'm either looking for a partnership between move and then one of the other 2 core abilities, possess or animate. Am I trying to close off or open up the board to control the Tomekeeper, or am I trying to grab you and shift you direct in his line? This is a very expensive and strategic faction to play. You're going to find that this is probably one of the harder factions to play, in my opinion, and if you're not thinking through what you're going to do after lunch, your strategy will fall apart. Because if you don't have movement when your second ability opens up and you've already used your haunt ability, you're going to put yourself in a position where everyone else is now more powerful than you are, and you suddenly have maybe spent too many resources on your possess ability, but you can't get to anyone. Or you can manipulate all the walls, but you can't move to do it. And that's a really, really hard spot to be in.
I hate your possess ability.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. We'll see you on the next strategy guide.
Less time watching, more time playing.
Bye.